All right, we are hoping technology doesn't get in the way and Todd Wade comes in. We just finished up an interview with Gary Patterson. It was fantastic. After this live stream is over, I highly recommend everybody going in and watching that as well. It was fantastic, but this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, we are live streaming and we're waiting on Todd Wade to get in. Hopefully technology does not do us in this time as well. But I do want to tell everybody about the Gary Patterson interview that we just did. It was fantastic. And thank you very much for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports. Also did a little time at WSMV in Nashville, and former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're going to talk with Todd Wade if technology doesn't bring us down this period, I guess. And it should be fantastic. Thanks for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen, and please give us a like, subscribe, and comment. On your way out, check out a second listen on the network. Every college and pro team is available. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Create a Game Time profile on the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. All right. So one thing is interesting while we're waiting on Todd to get in. Hopefully, like I said, there's no technology that kind of wrecks everything. But Gary Patterson talked about the 2014 Peach Bowl, that infamous Peach Bowl that we always talk about, where Ole Miss just got the brakes beat off of it. And everybody was like, oh, everybody was partying and this was happening, that was happening, and they were doing all of that. And Gary Patterson's like, no, I knew the whole Hugh Freeze offense based off of where the tight end lined up. I knew how the protection was going to go, whether the flow of the running play was going to go, the pass concepts and how they were going to defend that. And we could slant our defensive line and play games using them based off of Evan Ingram's alignment in that 2024 football game. That is absolutely ridiculous that happened. And the fact that Ole Miss just got the brakes beat off of it that day. You wondered what happened. It's like, well, everybody must have been out partying to the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, Gary Patterson said, yeah, we knew exactly what y'all were going to do on every play and where the ball was generally going to end up, and there's not a lot that you could do about that. And that just makes you go, interesting. That's kind of the way that goes. All right, we're waiting on Todd Wade to show up. Technology could be an issue with what's going on. We're always in Florida, and sometimes internet is very off, but he knows it's here. He's confirmed this morning, the whole 9 yards there. So if he can't make it, he can't make it, and we'll talk about the game. But Gary Patterson was pretty much a fantastic interview. I was so happy to have him on the show, and him talking about that Peach Bowl and breaking down like the thought process of bringing in a player like Trinidad Chambliss and how the modern college football apparatus is set up to find players like Trinidad Chambliss, and why his defensive ends were those little bitty guys back when he was in his TCU days, and how he would manage to mold all of that. It was really interesting from start to finish with Gary Patterson being interviewed as well. Again, waiting on Todd Wade. I do not know if he's going to make it in, honestly. But he did confirm, so we'll see exactly how that goes. But we can talk about the football game. And if you have a comment, leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll hit that in the third segment of the broadcast, maybe the second segment if this keeps up the way it is. But we will hit that up in the third segment of the broadcast. Gary Patterson tomorrow on the show, Jake Crane. On the morning Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we had Jake Crane. We were going to have Todd Wade on this live stream tonight. And like I said, he might make it, he might not. If he doesn't, we'll be fine. It's only a 30-minute show. And then there's some other names that are out there later on in the week that should be pretty fantastic as well. I'm on the Amazon College Football Kickoff show. Tomorrow evening, I record. Thursday, it airs. If you have a Fire TV, you can go on the Amazon Fire TV channels app and see the College Football Kickoff logo. We'll be there. They do a 30-minute or so preview for the weekend's games every single week. I'm on with Brian Smith. I'm on with Chuck Oliver. It's basically full speed ahead this week. And this Georgia game is interesting because it's simple. I said on the show today, and I absolutely mean it, it is unbelievably simple in the fact that if Ole Miss runs the football and stops the run, they win this game going away. They do. If they stop Georgia's run, which a lot of people, by the way, aren't sure that Ole Miss is going to be able to do. That's the trepidation of this game, is Ole Miss's ability to stop the run. If you can stop the run, you're going to win this game by multiple scores because Georgia's offense without a running game isn't very good. I like Gunnar Stockton, and this is one of the better collections of wide receivers that they've had over at Georgia. But when you look at this Ole Miss team and what they can do, it's interesting to see what happens. It's interesting to see exactly how it goes. So we'll see that stuff. As Gary Patterson said in the video, I hate to keep coming back to that, but I talked to him like 30 minutes ago. You just have to have the best defense on the field that day. You don't have to have the best overall. You just have to have the best that day. And your scheme and your tactics and your strategy that goes into creating that defensive scheme, if they can stop the run, the other stuff can be very effective. And then it comes down to whether or not Trinidad Chambliss can handle being in a 90,000 person environment. I'm thankful this is not a night game. If everybody remembers the 2023 Ole Miss Georgia game, Ole Miss got taken apart in that game, kind of. And it was a night game. They were up. Brock Bowers came back. The left tackle came back that night. And it was just for that game. It was like one night only. We coming back. And then they were out again. But they were completely together for one game, and they put it all together. Carson Beck he didn't even get dirty that night. And that was the night, if everybody remembers, that was the night that Lane Kiffin looked at Pete Golding and said, hey, we have to change our defensive line. We have to change what we're doing, because if we don't, we will never handle what is coming. We will never be able to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. So they changed that. They brought in Walter Nolan. They brought in Princely Amamiellan. They have J.J. Pegues. And they were able to put pressure on Carson Beck over literally the whole day and almost kind of dominated that game. They kind of dominated that game. And this game going back to Georgia with a team that is not as talented as last year's team. It's not. Might be a better team, but it's not as talented as last year's team. And talent when it comes to the Georgia Bulldogs is the reason that this would be an upset alert. This is the reason that you would look into this situation as, hey, we've got to fix this. If we don't, it could be problematic. And the Georgia game is the litmus test. That's the reason I did the show on Monday, talking about how this could be validation for the Ole Miss Rebels moving forward. A win over Georgia, even though this is not the 2023 Georgia Bulldogs, they're still very good and at the top of the SEC and at the top of the country. Okay? They're up towards the top. They're very, very good teams with very, very good players. They recruit almost better than everybody else. Only Alabama, I think, has more 4-star and 5-star players on their roster. So look at the Georgia Bulldogs, what they could be and all of that, and move on from there. So we'll see exactly how that goes for the Ole Miss Rebels moving forward. Again, comment in the comment section. Leave your name, where you're commenting from. We'll handle this in the live stream. It doesn't look like Todd's going to make it in. Looks like technology kind of got him. And that happened, if everybody remembers the last stream. It was difficult then as well. But put your name, put where you're commenting from, and leave your questions. And we'll have fun for 20 or so minutes as we go, because this is the biggest football game coming up that Ole Miss football has played in modern history. Ole Miss has a chance to turn that last corner with the win over the Georgia Bulldogs. So we'll see exactly how that goes and what's going on there. But coming up next, we will talk a little bit more about this game with the Georgia Bulldogs. And if Todd shows up, we'll bring him in as well. So stick around. You know, the holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serve needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding to cookware, outdoor inflatables, the whole 9 yards. It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays, and with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. I love how easy it was to find pieces that fit my style and budget. Everything was in one place, and checkout was a breeze. The delivery was fast and free, which was a lifesaver during a busy time of year. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you have a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this free. If you want more, join the Insiders program on the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. So give it a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. So today I've talked to a ton of people about this football game, the Ole Miss Georgia game. Jake Crane gives his prediction on that. Just spoiler alert, it's not what you want to hear, but it is a prediction, and he gives us a reason why. We talked to Gary Patterson. He did not give a prediction on it because he has the college football kickoff show, so he has to be careful about that as well. And we were going to talk to Todd Wade tonight about the offensive line and how that stands up and all of that good stuff. But just didn't work out. Technology was kind of a bear. But this Ole Miss Georgia game, whenever you look at where this game is, and I'm not talking about Athens, Georgia, but where it is on the schedule, what it means. There are several things that are important for Ole Miss, okay? A, if you can get a win over Georgia, that is the number one. That is the end-all, be-all, is getting a win over the Georgia Bulldogs. If you can do that, great. But if not, which if your name's not Alabama, you don't win in Athens, Georgia. It is just the way it is. The last team other than Alabama that beat Georgia in Athens was South Carolina in 2019. Quick Simpson County math says that's about 6 years. But when it comes to this game, this Georgia team is not what the other Georgia teams were. They're still very good, okay? So it's important to realize the context of what's going on. They're still extremely good. They're one of the upper shelf teams in the Southeastern Conference. They're one of the better teams in the entire country. So whenever I'm saying what I'm about to say, remember that it starts with that. This is not the 2023 Georgia Bulldogs. This is not the 2022, the one that beat Alabama, the guys that just completely beat down TCU in the national championship. This is not that Georgia team. When it comes down to whether or not you can win, at least you're not playing those guys, because that was potentially the last dynasty in all of college football. That was a big ask. This is different. They're still good. They still have talented players, not as many of them because of NIL and the transfer portal, but they are still very talented, especially when you look across the field at Ole Miss. Ole Miss's talent level has come way up. They've probably even crossed the blue chip threshold, if you believe in such things like that. But Georgia is in a league of their own. Well, not necessarily in their own. Alabama's in a league of their own, but Georgia's right below Alabama. This game will come down to whether or not Ole Miss can stop the Georgia running game and force them to be one-dimensional throwing the football. I expect Gunnar Stockton to get loose a couple of times, just like Jake Retzlaff did, just like those running quarterbacks have done from time to time. If you can stop the running back run game and force Gunnar Stockton to beat you, if you lose the game and under that scenario and that happens, you're going to be all right. That's what you want. Gunnar Stockton's a really good player. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, like everybody that plays quarterback at Georgia. But throwing the football, you would rather him take the reins than not. And if Ole Miss can stop the run and run the football just enough to be effective to where they have to respect it. And Gary Patterson on the show that just aired was talking about, hey, you can't do any slow developing run plays against this run defense. You have to go right at the defense, which means inside run, go. Inside, just really quick hitting. Jet sweeps, those are going to make an appearance. You're going to see Ole Miss motion a lot, side to side. You might see some orbit motion stuff. You're going to see Trinidad Chambliss get the ball out of his hands. This is all stuff that Gary Patterson talked about because of what Georgia's defense can do. Now, they're giving up explosives and third down conversions for the better part of this season. This isn't just the Alabama game. They have struggled on third down for the majority of the year. Tennessee hit some explosive plays in the pass game, playing jump balls and back shoulders with the Georgia cornerbacks. The same thing that Ole Miss did against the LSU Tigers. There is a path for Ole Miss to get an upset in this game. Do I think it's going to happen? I am not 100% sure. But there is a path. And you can see this Ole Miss defensive line. They can bow up against this Georgia offensive line. They can stop the run game. If they can do that, they're going to be okay. Anyway, when we come back, we are going to take your questions in the chat. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Stick around. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to secure last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw some amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25 per ticket. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. So Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, so let's get into the comment section real quick and what's going on, because it should be at least interesting for what happens. Tim Skelton, regular on the show, thank you for tuning in, says this should be a good game, and if Ole Miss comes out fired up and plays a clean game, Ole Miss should win as long as the refs don't cheat us. That's obviously a reference to the Georgia-Auburn game, to where there were some weird shenanigans that happened on that day. I'm expecting a good football game. I'm expecting a tight football game that's decided right at the end. At this point, I don't know which way in my head I am predicting. I know in the preseason I predicted this as a loss, but I don't know where exactly this is going right now. The Revolution says, man, I pray our defensive line has a signature game in Athens. We got to stop the run and not let Gunner get going on his feet. Yes, definitely stop the run. We did a show about that today, and that is a very, very real thing. Zach Tyler, what are your thoughts on the people in the media using Ole Miss versus Wazoo against them as a knock on us, but when LSU barely beats La Tech, it's not a problem? Zach, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If Ole Miss wins on Saturday, they're going to jump up to number 3 in all of the polls, and Trinidad's going to be all the Heisman darling and all of that. People are trying to get in front of whatever they can do in this game by picking the other team. That's just normal. So we'll see what's up. Zach Tyler also says, if Ole Miss wins Saturday, do you think the narrative changes to where people believe on this as a true contender? Yeah, this is a validation game. If Ole Miss wins this game, and this is just for real, if Ole Miss wins this one game, the narrative and the real that Ole Miss can go to Atlanta, not just make the playoff, go to Atlanta, becomes a real discussion point moving forward. If Ole Miss is 7-0 and going to be favored in all of their last games, and they only have to go 3-2 to close out the season to make the playoff, they're going to obviously assume that if it goes chalk, 11-1's on the table. And if 11-1's on the table, they're not just a playoff team, they're an Atlanta team. And that's interesting. We'll see what happens. It is hard for SEC teams to win on the road. Okay? It is hard for SEC teams to win on the road. I think it's an average of one team per weekend wins on the road. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Texas plays at Kentucky this week. Missouri's at Auburn. If one team wins on the road, those probably have a little bit higher priority right now than Georgia and Ole Miss. King on the Throne says, I've got $1,250 on Ole Miss. I do not bet on Ole Miss. Period. I don't want that action. I don't want that smoke. I just want to enjoy the things that are going on in the game. But if you want to bet, absolutely go for it, because I do lines and all that stuff like that. But me personally, I don't generally bet on Ole Miss games. The Revolution says, I hope and pray we can come out of the gate swinging, get a 2-score lead fast, and take some of the air out of the crowd. Georgia isn't going to give up from what I've seen, but maybe the crowd will. Crowd's going to do, they're calling it a stripe out, I think. I saw a tweet, it was on X, and it's the stripes that are on the side of the pants, to where one side of the stadium is going to be black, the end zones are going to be white, and the other side of the stadium is going to be red or something like that. It looked pretty cool, I guess, but it also kind of looked weird and easy for somebody that does like a stripe out. So we'll see what's up. Tim Skelton says, Georgia is beatable. Yes, they are. This is the most gettable Georgia team, even over last year's team, if we're going to be honest. I'm not 100% sure that Georgia is a playoff team. And if Georgia loses to Ole Miss, they're not a playoff team because they're probably going to lose another game along the way as well. They lucked out against Tennessee. Tennessee missed a field goal that would have beat them in regulation, or there would be a very desperate Georgia team in this game. OM, if you want it bad enough, you can win. Okay. Revolution, I hope Lane doesn't put so much emphasis on that scoring, that first drive, take 3. If that's what we are given, he's got to remember the LSU game. It's okay not to score 7 at the start of the game. Yes, he needs to channel Georgia from last year, period. It's a 60-minute game. Don't fall into the trap of going for it all the time. Take the points. Don't give that crowd a reason to get jazzed up. If you can kick a field goal in the beginning, do it. You don't want them to get excited and have even more belief of what's going on, because I'm going to be real with you real quick. Georgia knows they can lose this game. So you're dealing with a little bit of a wounded animal coming up. Georgia knows they can lose this game because they got blown out last year, essentially. Couldn't do anything. This Georgia team, they're going to do a lot better. They're going to do exactly what Ole Miss did about Georgia last year. They probably spent extra time figuring out ways to attack this Ole Miss defense. So understand the bells and the whistles, and you have to coach understanding that as well, because Kirby's the type person that, hey, if you're beating yourself, he will let you. He will absolutely let you, and he will intimidate officials and something like that. Tim Skelton says this game feels like 31-27 Ole Miss or Ole Miss 27-24. Potentially. The last time Ole Miss won over there was, I guess, 1996. I think that was the last time they won over there. So we'll see exactly what that looks like for the Ole Miss Rebels moving forward. But, yeah, something like that. Anyway, James Hall from Brookhaven, Mississippi. What chance does Ken Williamson's crew has the chance of working this game? I don't think you get the same team back-to-back weeks in the SEC. But, yes, that was an egregious decision by the referee. Again, I apologize that Todd Wade got bit by technology tonight and could not make it in. We had a bunch of good guests today, and tomorrow we have Jake Crane as well. You can catch me on the College Football Kickoff Show. We're the featured game of the day. The Georgia people will be there. We'll be going back and forth and stuff like that. And you might catch me on whichever local sports radio that you're listening to, because tomorrow I am everywhere. I'm all over the place. So we'll see what happens. And don't forget about ABC 24. Listen and watch on ABC 24 and the 24 Plus app. You can see what happens. I'll be on the 24/4 Sports Show tomorrow talking about this game as well. So it should be really cool. Anyway, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, or comment. It helps the show, and it's absolutely free. Your support means the world to us. And another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley, as well as Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview show only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We will see you tomorrow.